The following may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Three men charged in brutal church murder of Lowe-Garwood. Police have charged three men with the murder of 51-year-old Andrea Lowe-Garwood, who was shot dead in a church in Falmouth, Trelawney, Sunday, January 31st. Charged are 23-year-old Leon Hines, a storekeeper of Rose Heights, Montego Bay, St. James, who was charged with murder, illegal possession of firearm, accessory before the fact, accessory after the fact, and conspiracy to murder. 29-year-old Javon Garwood, otherwise called Janoy, who was charged with murder and conspiracy to murder, and Dwight Bingham was charged with murder and illegal possession of a firearm. Mistress Lowe-Garwood, a senior bank employee of Danieltown in the parish, was shot dead in Agape Christian Fellowship, Falmouth, Trelawney. Police said the murder arose out of a row in her late husband's family over an inheritance. Reports are that about 10:30 a.m., Lowe-Garwood was in a worship session at her church when a man posing as a member of the congregation walked over to her and shot her several times in the upper body. She was taken to hospital where she died whilst undergoing treatment. An investigation was launched, and it was later discovered that Hines had previously conspired with Javon Garwood and Bingham to kill Mrs. Lowe-Garwood. Hines allegedly drove a white Toyota Allion motorcar transporting Bingham to the church, where Bingham shot and killed Lowe-Garwood. He then exited the church and went into the car that was being driven by Hines and made their escape. Their court dates are being finalized.
As the police intensify their investigation in the shooting death of Andrea Garwood on January 31st, 2021, in Falmouth, Trelawney, three persons that were held in custody have been formally charged for the offense. They are Leon Hines, who was the driver of the car. He is 23 years old and a storekeeper of a St. James with murder, conspiracy to commit murder, illegal possession of firearm, accessory before the fact of murder, and accessory after the fact of murder. The other two persons are Janoy Garwood. He is the stepson of the deceased. He is 29 years old, account analyst. He was charged with murder and conspiracy to murder. Bingham, who was the alleged shooter, he was charged with murder, conspiracy to murder, and illegal possession of firearm. All three are scheduled to appear before the court. I would like to commend the men and women of the JCF for the significant work and for the speed in which they executed their task in ensuring that these perpetrators are brought to justice.
Woman found partially decapitated in Lyddart District, Portland. A woman's body was found with her throat slashed and her head partially severed in a precipice in Lyddart District, Portland on Saturday. The deceased has been identified as 30-year-old Kerry-Ann Hunter, alias Caribou or Chubby, of Ginneptree Lane, Port Antonio in the parish. Reports are that about 9:30 a.m., a passerby saw the body of a woman, later identified as that of Hunter, in a precipice and summoned the police. On their arrival, law enforcers found Hunter's body with her throat slashed and her head partially severed. The body was taken to the morgue pending a post-mortem examination. Detectives in Portland have since launched an investigation into the death, which is a second killing on record for the parish for 2021. Last year, the parish recorded the least number of killings among geographical police divisions across the country with 10 cases. Bartender stabbed to death by boyfriend in Cascade, St. Anne. A woman was fatally stabbed reportedly by her boyfriend during a domestic dispute in Cascade, St. Anne on Saturday night. The deceased has been identified as Kenesha Reed, a bartender of Fraser District in Cascade. She is believed to have been in her 30s. Her boyfriend is in police custody and is expected to be questioned by investigators. Preliminary reports are that sometime after 11 p.m., Reed and her boyfriend, said to be a farmer, had an argument at a premises in the community. Subsequently, a knife was reportedly used by the man to stab Reed several times. She was pronounced dead at hospital, while her alleged attacker turned himself over to the police. When contacted, head of the St. Anne Police, Superintendent Dwight Powell, said the killing resulted from a domestic dispute between a man and his girlfriend, instigated by jealousy. Of the 8 murders that have been recorded in St. Anne so far this year, 3 have been attributed to domestic-related conflicts. We have an issue with domestic-related murders, so we will be pushing a program from where we sit to treat domestic violence, Powell indicated. The program is to involve the training of persons in conflict resolution and domestic violence intervention. A counseling center for the police division is also to be installed later this year in Alexandria, St. Anne. So we are hoping this year we will be able to make a serious inroad in terms of domestic violence across the parish, Powell added. Man in custody as multiple abductions and rape probes intensifies in St. Anne. A man is in police custody as investigators in St. Anne step up a probe into a series of rapes and abductions in the parish. The suspect's identity is being withheld pending further investigation. He was arrested last week in the parish of St. Mary and handed over to the police investigators in St. Anne. According to law enforcers, in the coming days he is to face a series of other identification parades for a number of sexual assaults. This after having been pointed out on one such parade late last week. Meanwhile, efforts are underway by the police to apprehend other suspects who were allegedly involved in the sexual assaults. The total number of rape and abduction incidents that are being investigated has not yet been ascertained. It was reported that several women have been abducted by men traveling in motorcars and taken as far as Portland, where the hoodlums had sex with them without their consent. Some of the incidents were reported to the police, resulting in a probe being launched. The concerning developments sent fear among some residents of the parish, with several voice notes being circulated, citing several rapists on the loose in the parish. But despite those claims, there were 5 reported rape cases in St. Anne last month. It was not clear how many rape cases have been recorded so far in February. Man charged for fatal home invasion in Bull Bay, St. Andrew. The Kingston Eastern Police have charged 30-year-old Dutton Morris, otherwise called Mullo, a mason of East Albion, Yalis in St. Thomas, in relation to a fatal home invasion. Following an intelligence-led operation, Morris was arrested in Knightsville, St. Thomas on Saturday and charged after an interview in the presence of his attorney. He is charged with murder and illegal possession of firearm and ammunition in connection with a shooting in Bull Bay, St. Andrew on Thursday, September 4, 2020. Its court date is not yet finalized. It is reported that about 2:23 a.m., Natalisha Earl, a 37-year-old shopkeeper of Taylorland 9 miles Bull Bay in St. Andrew, was at home when the accused and other men armed with guns reportedly fired several shots at her house. They then reportedly forced their way inside and shot her several times. The police who were called to the scene transported her to the hospital, where she died while undergoing treatment. Morris was subsequently arrested and later charged. His accomplices remain on the run. Taxi driver shot and killed at bar party in Hopewell, Hanover. The Sandy Bay and Lucy police in the parish of Hanover have arrested one man following the shooting death of a taxi operator in Hopewell, Hanover on Saturday night, February 6th. The dead man is being identified so far only as Chinese, a taxi operator of Seaview Drive, also in Hopewell, Hanover. The identity of the suspect in custody has been withheld pending further investigations. Reports by the Sandy Bay police are that about 8:30 p.m., patrons were at a bar party being held in the vicinity of Cycles Right Plaza when a dispute developed between a taxi operator and another man. It is further reported that the man brandished a handgun and opened fire, hitting the taxi operator before speeding away from the scene in a motorcar. Minutes after the murder, a motorcar fitting the description of the vehicle in which the shooter made his escape crashed into a section of Bamboo Drive, and the driver was arrested as the prime suspect in the killing. 2 other men who are said to be relatives of the man taken into custody were also arrested by the police for allegedly assaulting the investigators at the scene. Alleged burglars caught with $1 million worth of stolen alcohol in Highgate, St. Mary. Detectives in Highgate, St. Mary have arrested and charged 2 men with shoplifting and larceny following 2 incidents in the parish on Saturday, January 30th. The men have been identified as 26-year-old David Disgoots, a taxi operator, and 32-year-old Melanda Francis, otherwise called Tutu, both of Buff Bay in Portland. Reports are that about 8:30 p.m. on Saturday, January 30th, the now accused men broke into a bar and stole a quantity of assorted liquor valued at $254,820. About 9 p.m. that same evening, the now suspects reportedly broke into another establishment and stole items valued at over $700,000. They reportedly hid the stolen items in bushes for pickup at a later date. About 8:30 p.m. on Sunday, January 31st, Disgoots and Francis reportedly returned to where the loot was hidden and were loading a motorcar with the stolen items when they were accosted by the police. They were subsequently arrested and charged, and the motor vehicle and the stolen items were seized. A date for their appearance in court is being finalized by the police.